Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. This is the 189th iteration of the show, recorded on the 17th of April, 2016. My name is Josh Trelevin.
And over here, a slightly older Ryan Kirkby.
Slightly older. Oh, you had a birthday in between.
I had my birthday, within this last 7 days. It was a good birthday. My daughter bought the cake, sort of thing, in air quotes there. At just over 3 years old, she really didn't buy the cake, but she did get to help choose the thing.
All right, well, so what kind of cake did you get?
It had a picture of the Paw Patrol character, Marshall, on there. She really likes him.
Now, this is not Papa Troll. This is Paw Patrol.
It is a series of intelligent dogs that can talk and manipulate machinery that are used as, like, the emergency rescue services.
Okay.
Marshall happens to operate both the fire truck as well as act as a first aid, attendant. So.
And you feel that somehow represents you, or?
I don't think it represents me. Although the image in the center, because it was a Dairy Queen ice cream cake, it had both me and my daughter in that little circle on the one side there. But I do catch Zoe whenever she bumps her head or does something, and she'll go, "I'm fine," and she says it in the exact same way I notice the dog Marshall says.
Oh, okay.
So she clearly is paying attention on him and has some sort of thing like, oh yes, I can be clumsy sometimes, he's clumsy sometimes too. Yeah. We've got that connection. She sees the relatable trait of him being clumsy, or less coordinated than others.
If you were one of the Paw Patrol dogs, which Paw Patrol dog would you be?
Well, let's see.
Would you base it on your sort of imaginative style and your, the fact that you're a fiction guy?
That's the thing. I'm not big on air, so I can't be the sky one. I'm not huge in the water, so I can't be the aqua rescue one. So that puts it down to 4. Well, technically I got an extra member who does like snow ski work, but I live in Victoria. I haven't.
You are from the mountains, though.
I'm from the mountains, from a ski town, but I honestly haven't seen or touched snow in almost 3 years now, so I don't think I have a legitimate claim to that at this point. So that's the thing. I mean, if I go with the fire pup, then I wind up being clumsy. If I go with the police officer, then not only am I rigid and uncontrolling, but I'm also secretly wishing to be a spy.
Okay.
So I know the characters too well. I guess I'll have to go with the police officer one, just because he seems most orderly and logical of stuff.
And why not? What about Rebel?
He does not like baths. I am very much in favor of personal hygiene.
You like baths. Okay.
Although I do have a certain kinship with it, trying to make things work out of cobbling stuff together to various degrees of success. So I have that.
Okay.
But I think that the no personality clearly matches mine.
Well, I think you still qualify. You say 3 years. 3 years isn't that long to be away from your mountain heritage.
Well, so that's just 3 years since I've touched
been there.
Snow.
Okay.
It's been 6 years since I was last there.
Yeah.
And I haven't been skiing in over a decade.
That's like saying a husky pup. Oh, I haven't been a husky since I was born. Well, you're always a husky because you were born a husky.
Well, maybe. But there's stuff I could be doing on snow and ice around here. Perks Recreation is nearby, and yet it's been years since I've been skating. Admittedly, it makes it easy to not go skating when my wife is not a big fan of it. She tried. God bless her soul. She tried to skate. Turns out you don't have a lot of innate skating reflexes when you're from a place like the Philippines. Like you and I, we've probably walked enough on icy, slippery conditions just ambiently over the course of the 5 years we were up in Prince George that we have some nice reflexes to help us with skating. My wife has none of that. She has absolutely no step awareness when it comes to slippery surfaces like we do.
Yeah, okay. Although I remember falling a few times in Prince George. It's every winter, you know.
But the first thing they teach you in martial arts is how to fall properly.
Fall. Yeah.
Did you suffer any concussions in any of them slips and falls?
No.
Then there you go. That means you're already doing it right.
I think when I was very young and skiing, I did suffer a concussion one time. I think that was.
They never said I suffered any concussions, but I never really tested myself for it. I'm pretty certain it would have shown up, though. But, I remember cranking my head a few times. I got a goosebump on the back of my head that will never go away from just hitting I can't even recall what I hit. I hit so hard, but I do remember slipping and hitting something hard enough to leave a permanent bump on the back of my skull. But only once. After that, you learn. So I don't know how much of a claim I have, though, for being away so long. Wait, can I go to a major and a minor? I'll do a major in the police pup with a minor in the snow rescue.
Sure.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, be a hybrid.
There we go. I'm taking it.
An in-between breed.
A Dober Husky.
Is it the police dog? Is he a Doberman?
I believe he is supposed to be a Doberman.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to tell because one, they're stylized, and two, they're supposed to be the puppy version of it. They're still young. So sometimes it's a little hard to determine.
He might be a German Shepherd because police dogs, that's the breed that they mostly are, right?
Okay, I'll buy that. So then a German Husky combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the German Husky.
That actually would be a pretty cool dog to have.
I might need to Google that later up. I won't lie. That seems like a good thing to look up. On the other hand, photos of puppies are always a fun thing to Google up.
That
Never hesitate, right? But yes, I had a fun time with my family. Ate some delicious cake. Both my brother and my dad got to see my daughter do her martial arts when they were in town, so that was nice.
Very good.
We played and we played and we had fun and we played, and then we slept and napped, and so it was a wonderful, productive, birthday. Except for me turning older. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's inevitable, but I don't have to like it.
Okay.
So other than that, though, I have a small conspiracy notion for everyone out there today.
Ooh.
I just want you all to put this into your head, okay? A muffin is just a three-dimensional cookie.
Ooh.
Next time you're eating a muffin or a cookie, think about that.
I mean, technically, a cookie is three-dimensional.
It's not really trying on that third dimension.
Unless
you got a really thick cookie sort of thing, it's only barely succeeding on that third dimension. It is not winning that third dimension. But a muffin is all three dimensions. Think about that. Next time you're eating, it's like, that's a three-dimensional cookie.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the muffin.
Yeah.
If it's a muffin I don't like,
if it's like an oat bran muffin.
Yeah, bran muffin.
I
could use only only two dimensions on that one. Or one even. Is a Tootsie Roll a one-dimensional?
It is scalar. It's Tootsie in a single line, yes.
What else is one? A candy cane, although a candy cane...
A candy cane is a one-dimensional candy that just happens to have a manifold within it.
Okay, yeah,
there you go.
It. Pixie sticks?
Pixie sticks are a collection of 0 points.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
And nerds, for that matter. What about Smarties?
Smarties can't qualify in that same thing because Smarties have different colors. And as every kid knows, the different color of Smartie you eat gives you different superpowers.
Okay.
They fall underneath an entirely different paradigm, but yes.
Are Smarties a fluid, or can you consider Smarties a fluid?
No.
No? Okay.
No. They're... Well, that's the thing with nerds. You can consider them to be a pseudo-fluid because they will try and fill up, and act as though like a water or sand would be. But Smarties are large enough that no, they have to qualify as standard.
As just you do the physics for each Smartie. Did you ever take a physics class where it like fluid dynamics or anything like that?
A few of them. I remember getting very wet.
Oh, really? Like you actually did like labs with fluid?
Yeah, we weren't supposed to be getting wet though, so it didn't go as we had hoped.
Okay.
It was fluid, dynamics and resonant wave harmonics and all that sort of stuff.
Ooh, cool.
Many people were out of harmony, I'll say that, and that's why we got wet.
And I'm just wondering if they ever mentioned like the difference between a very fine powder or sand versus an actual like a watery liquid. I'm sure they must flow differently. But
yes. Well, that's the thing, is the very fine powder sand would wind up effectively being a mix between a temporary gas and a solid, as opposed to the liquid, which actually winds up having the intermediate stage between those, as we all know our base physics to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google will tell you the differences on the whole thing for those. And spoiler alert, glass is indeed a solid.
Glass is solid.
It's not a very viscous liquid that is slowly coursing over the distance of centuries.
What about gum?
Gum?
Is gum solid?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a very bad solid in the case that it's not very solid at all.
Yeah, it's pliable.
But then you got your stuff like Jello, which is your semi-colloidal liquid.
There we go. All right, let's get into this.
Where it can be a liquid until it cools to a solid, but warming it up again does not revert it to a liquid. You burn it.
Ooh.
And it's other fun stuff like that. It's actually liquid suspended in a matrix of, spoiler alert, bones.
Of animal bone.
Yes.
Like basically pig or cow, I suppose.
Sometimes horse if you want to go classy.
Oh yeah, classical style.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned Jello made with real horse hooves.
That's good. Don't think too much about it and just enjoy your Jello.
All right.
Sponsored by Jello.
It's been a while since I've had Jello.
Really?
Yeah.
Consider it. It's cheap to go buy. And here's the thing. You go buy like a few powdered packets of the Jello or Jello knockoff, whatever gelatin sort of thing they're selling on cheap.
Okay.
You go home, you get yourself some hot water sort of thing, a little sugar, you mix the whole thing up, you pour it on out, and then you serve it to people and they're like, oh, look at that, you gave me a wonderful dessert, and everyone's so happy when it's really a very simple thing to do.
All right. Yeah.
It's like you go to the store and you buy like that pre-made cookie mix, and then you chop up the stuff into cookies and you cook it, and everyone's like, oh man, Josh made us cookies. This is so awesome, and everything's wonderful now. And it's just like all you did was cut and cook. It's a very simple recipe.
On the other hand, you could, now that we know that it's made out of bones, you could just buy some bones or buy some meat with bones in it and then save the bones after you cook the meat.
You do have to prepare the whole thing properly.
Okay,
yeah,
so that might take a bit.
Yeah, it takes a lot more steps. I don't suppose you've ever reached into the back of a fridge and found a chicken bone that no longer had bone in it because the bone itself just went all noodly.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I think I've had that.
You kind of have to do that with the bone before you can wind up using it for gelatin stuff. It's not just powdering up in a mortar and pestle.
So it takes it has to cure or what, ferment or?
Let's say ferment is the best way of realizing what you're doing to it before actually digging into what you have to do to it.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you can't just throw a bunch of bones in a blender and that's gelatin.
No. One, I don't advocate that at all because most bones wind up having sharp shards and you'll poke out your eye that way.
Well, put the cap on the blender for Pete's sake.
I don't know, man. You got too many bones in there. All of a sudden, it just blows the top off, the same as any amount of stuff in a blender. And all of a sudden, you got like a bone shard thing going on there.
Bone shake, yum.
The bone storm that erupts out from your blender. But it's the same thing as just like just trying to take corn on the cob and making popcorn out of it.
Okay.
You can't make popcorn from corn on the cob directly. You have to dry it out a bit.
You dry
it out. That's why the corn kernels are so dry when you pop them for like. Well, you've done air dry air popcorn before, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's not the same as like just taking a bunch of corn off the cob and throwing it in there. Also, as I've been told, is actually a different subspecies of corn that is meant purposefully for turning into popcorn.
Yeah. Although, what's cool about popcorn is that, they sell that version of corn in the bulk food section, and it's so cheap.
Like, once you spend the $20 on getting yourself like an air pop popcorn sort of thing, spend $2 more and get yourself like a bag as big as your head of the kernels.
Yeah.
And then, as I've been led to understand, it's a 44 times volume increase when you pop popcorn from the kernel.
Yeah, it's not very filling, but it's not the point.
It's a great snack,
yeah.
And provided you're not putting the cream and butter on there, it's pretty healthy.
Podcast brought to you by popcorn.
That's the thing. I mean, that's like you spend $2 for the bag, the size of your head of the kernels.
Yeah,
that's 44 bags, the size of your head of popcorn.
Actually, yeah. If you had your like movie night, invite friends over and then like sell them the popcorn, you could make a pretty penny.
Say, hey, guys, I can get you some air pop popcorn. It's going to cost you. I'm going to need about $2 from each of you for the stuff.
And they'd be like, oh, okay, that's way cheaper than the theater.
Dang straight. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's like you're only giving them, 25 cents worth of popcorn based on the kernel weight, and that's still a huge amount for them. They're like, wow, man, this guy's so generous. Mm-hmm. And then you're a good friend who's stealing money from your friends.
That's right.
Take from that what you will. Now, the big question about Jello, going back to Jello,
okay,
is how is it affected by necromancy spells?
Oh, well, if the necromancy spell specifically affects bone...
So if you could, animate skeletons, does that mean you could animate Jello?
Well, strictly speaking, your standard animates dead spell, I would say no. I would say it's too far gone, because,
I'd have to custom research a spell in D20 Modern to get my animate Jello.
Because, can you animate the meat inside your, the orc's stomach? Like, the orc had a nice, pig for dinner.
I would not mind a spell that does that.
I think it would have to be its own spell, especially crafted, scribed.
See, this is one of the reasons I'm always a big fan of Dwarf Fortress, is because as long as you got a tag for, whether or not it's from a body part of an animal, then it's fair game for necromantic animation, which is why it's always good to try and convert your stuff to tallow as quickly as possible for fat, so you don't have fat zombie sludge things coming at you. Mm-hmm. But he was trying to initially to come up with a way that would just make a skeleton pop back up from the a bunch of pile of bones. And what wound up happening was the raw, unprocessed leather was coming up as some sort of weird hollow animal thing.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, it's he kept it in because I was that, I had such a wonderful mental image for him. How could he discard it, right?
Yeah.
The hollow creatures.
Well, I mean, yeah, in D&D they have leather armor, like every character, so...
That's processed, sort of, skin and all that. So if you were to take, an animal and just, skin it, and, strip the meat from the bones and all that, but before you were to process any of it, you should be able to animate the whole darn thing. Get yourself, a cow skeleton coming with you, a meat sludge monster, it's an undead, and then you got your hollow cow skin beast.
Mm-hmm.
It should be possible. And then, if you've prepared things just right enough, and you got the right spell for it, bam, you can, make a sausage links animate for you. You can get your Jello to be an ooze monster for you.
Mm-hmm.
It should be viable, man.
Well, isn't there
I'll
a
put a pin
bone
in that.
ooze? In one of the monster manuals, there's a bone ooze. I feel like Monster Manual 3 from 3.5.
I do recall making an undead ooze back in 2nd edition based on, not everyone's got a perfect corpse. Occasionally you're going to wind up with, something that's been smashed by, a trap in a dungeon, and the necromancer's still got to find a way to use that, because there's only so many bodies, right?
Yeah.
So I did come up with the liquid zombie.
Okay, yeah.
So you take all the bunch of stuff that's all being smashed together by the horrible death traps in the dungeon, you animate it, and it's effectively a zombie ooze. With sharp chunks sitting in there of, shattered bones.
I like it, yeah. I mean...
I will have to convert it to
weird.
5th edition at some point. Fortunately, I'm spending a lot of time working with Ravenloft, where that just kind of shoes in perfectly, yes. Yeah. So, I guess I'll have to move that from the back burner to a front burner soon enough.
Very cool. What else we got?
Overwatch.
Overwatch, that's the Blizzard title?
Yes, this is the new Blizzard sort of thing, kind of your Team Fortress style shooter, shoot 'em up, have some fun sort of games.
So we're just kind of watching along as whatever news they have.
Well, the open beta is going on, and I'd like to play it to test it out and have some fun. But one, my reflexes aren't good for that sort of stuff. They've never been. My PvP skills are just absolutely abysmal. Mm-hmm. They're getting better as I practice, but only by inches, never by yards. But I'm watching, I'm paying attention, because they're putting out shorts, like little animated bits, and they're fun. They're good stuff. I mean, this is good quality animation that you expect. Like why did Blizzard have to go into games? Why couldn't they be a movie production house? They could have been making good movies for decades now. But there was a pose, all the people have a pose, like over the shoulders, this one. And the getup of the character Tracer, who is effectively like their mascot and their main character for the thing.
Okay.
Due to what she's wearing, the colors and how everything goes, her over the shoulder pose very much highlighted her buttocks.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. We've seen that in video games many times.
Well, I said, it's not like it was a very big buttocks. So she's a very spry runner kind of person. So she's small and she's thin. Fair enough. And one person complained, and Blizzard, guy, on there said, hey, we actually weren't really rather happy with the pose either, so yeah, we're taking it out. And then everyone got enough for how dare they get rid of this? It wasn't even that sexy a pose to begin with. It's like, if you see anything sexy about that, that's your butt fetish, buddy. How dare you censor that? And everyone was upset at Blizzard for how dare they do this, from one person's complaint, when the guy said, hey, we here aren't really happy with the pose either.
Okay.
And it's only been, I guess, about 2 weeks grand total, give or take a day or two, before they released the new pose.
So they redid this. It's a picture or like a 3D
as you're waiting for everything to load up and you're looking at the characters, which character I'm going to play, they have different poses, victory poses and whatnot stuff, for the end screens and whatnot.
Okay, so this is something that players are going to be looking at a lot. Because
I assume, there's a bunch of different poses, so it'll be in the mix. But so, with 2 weeks, I don't believe they had enough time to create something from scratch. They were clearly working on something, ahead of time. From what I know of digital modeling and what it takes to come up with a good quality, finished rendering and all that. It's not just something you can slap together.
Well, they're sort of, I don't know much about it either, but it's sort of wireframe models with textures, so you just have to align them differently. But I suppose, you'd have to... You have to
figure out what your pose is going to be, lined up, and figure out the right angles and make everything work as a piece of art, not just, I'm moving, like a little corpse around, effectively what it is.
Because, I've played with rudimentary software, even like the game Spore, and you drag the body parts around, and that doesn't look natural.
Whoa, it spazzes out on you, and all of a sudden the leg's 3 miles long and going off on an angle. It's maybe I'll keep it, maybe I won't.
So I know it can be tough to get them in the right position. Although I don't know if it would take, for a skilled modeler, to take 3 weeks. I guess maybe they're not working on that exclusively, but yeah.
From what I've been led to understand about what it takes to get things working in the industry, 2 weeks is, if not too short a time, it is a very tight deadline to work with. Yeah. So I am inclined to believe that they were already working on a replacement pose, and that they weren't lying, they weren't blowing smoke when they said we weren't happy with this pose to begin with. We will be removing it. And the pose they replaced it with is still an over-the-shoulder look sort of pose, but it's like a cheesecake 1950s pinup sort of pose, where you see the lady in, I guess it was supposed to be like a revealing bathing suit then. It's like a one piece that covers everything sort of thing.
Okay.
For the original pose.
I'm trying to imagine it in my mind right now.
What's the thing? It's like one leg extended down, the other leg is up sort of thing, where it's like, where the knee comes pointing out, and then you've kind of got, do you know the picture on the Enola Gay, like the bomber sort of thing, the style? Anything from
no.
World War II, 40s, 50s, sort of pinup stuff in the background?
I
Betty
kind
Page?
of have stuff in my head, but
like the Betty Page poses. You do know Betty Page, premier pinup gal of the era.
Not my era.
Apparently, I'm quite the refined pervert then. but it's a better pose. It's legitimately a
Okay.
better pose. The outfit she's wearing and how it's all angled about her no longer directs the body flow to the posterior. Admittedly, because she was wearing a bomber jacket, like a British bomber jacket, it's a standard sort of, like a tan brown sort of color. And her leggings, she's wearing a running suit, so her leggings were like a red, an orange to yellow combo, and so like the bright colors really attract the look, I suppose. And the old pose, because of the dull brown versus the collar sort of thing, and the fact that she's got a harness on her body because she needs the harness well harnessed in, I did kind of like highlight the buttocks in that one. This new one doesn't highlight it, and it's a much better pose to show off her personality. The Tracer character is, spunky and quirky and fun and go full of energy sort of style. Right. And this really shows off more of her personality style than the old one did with just a generic over-the-shoulder pose that everyone else had.
Was the same pose as everyone else?
Everyone's got an over-the-shoulder pose, but not everyone's wearing a skin-tight uniform that shows.
Yeah, her over-the-pose was the same sort of algorithm, I guess, as all the other models, but it just happened
because her outfit was... I guess if you don't know what running suit is, imagine like wearing yoga pants. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of skin tight sort of thing. So for her, although they do have the other character, like was it Widowmaker, something like that. She's got the skin tight sort of thing, and it's the same sort of pose there, but no one's complained because apparently she's tinted blue and it doesn't attract the flow the same way.
Well, it's funny because like people worry about the way they look a lot, like just in real life. Like people are like, "Oh, does this make my butt look big?"
Yeah, so it's just the classic line.
Does this draw too much attention to my butt? Not enough attention to my butt? People care about this a lot. And in movies, it's sort of the costuming. It's a whole department. Like the costuming department decides.
It should be a whole department to make sure everything's working right and fitting right and looking to achieve the style that both the director as well as the producer and all relevant interests want to show to the world.
Yeah, and they ask, like, would this character wear, like, would she wear this sort of, is that her personality to wear this kind of outfit? Hey, man, you got to
untuck, half of your shirt here. You're supposed to be a slovenly guy. You can't have that even tucked in right, and let's put a little mustard stain right here on you.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with what the actor would or wouldn't wear.
Yeah.
They're just, and the actor doesn't have a lot of input even, although sometimes they do.
Would your character wear the outfit like this versus, how many people do we want coming in to watch this particular scene? I do recall a lot of jokes being made about Scarlett Johansson's outfit in The Avengers. And that the Avengers 3 in 3D sold out, 50% because of Scarlett Johansson's skin-tight bodysuit.
Okay, yeah. And I think that's a reality of filmmaking and comic books, is that the human female figure especially tends to sell, tends to do well. People buy a comic or watch a movie just because of that.
But yeah, long story short is for Tracer... everyone, like, I went over to Reddit once the news came out and I saw the difference in the poses. And I'll admit, I like the new pose better. I mean, it's not like I disliked the old pose. It's an over-the-shoulder look. I find an over-the-shoulder look to be, nice on its own. Sort of thing, because that way you can do like a kind of like a James Bond sort of style.
Well, I like over-the-shoulder. Speaking of like action poses and stuff, I like it because you get miniatures and stuff like that. It looks like they're ready for action. That looks like a really active pose. Like,
provided they don't work the system wrong. I do go to the Escher Girls blog where they do mention and show a lot of what's called the boob and butt pose, where it's like an over-the-shoulder look, but for some reason the torso is at an angle where it would literally shatter your spine to have, unless for some reason the front of your body was growing out of the side of your torso. That shows a lady, all her, physical charms at once, sort of thing. Okay. I will note the pose that I'm mentioning with Tracer did not have that. It was a legitimately animated pose and all that. Okay. But yeah, I go onto Reddit to see, what people are saying about this one. And I don't read everything because there was like a lot of responses by the time I got there. But by and large, from what I was seeing, was everyone was happy with the pose. And a lot of people seemed like they were kicking themselves or saying like, well, of course Blizzard's going to produce something that everyone's going to be happy with in the end. That's what Blizzard does. That's part of the Blizzard polish. And so like a lot of people were just upset in the end with themselves for forgetting just how much credit they have with Blizzard, or Blizzard has with them, from like all the various works they've done in the past to make people happy. And so I was nice to see that, like in the end, it's like, oh, like how dare you, like why didn't you have both poses? Like, no, okay, that's a legitimately better pose. It's more stylish. It shows off the personality and it works well because as I said, the Enola Gay sort of image on the side of a bomber plane. She's wearing a bomber jacket, so her quirky personality would have her posing in a style related to like the Air Force stuff, where she apparently has her backstory in. So it's like, okay, cool. It all works together with history and character and all that stuff. I can dig it. And they're like, I can't believe I was upset at Blizzard. Of course, they're going to release something that'll be even better than the original. So that was nice to see from a lot of the people mentioning it in the end, that they're more upset with themselves getting upset in the end than they actually were about being upset about anything. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see, because let's face it, a lot of the time the internet can be a very negative filled place, and to see people effectively just ending with that smack on the head, like, oh, dude, how could I have been so dumb? It's Blizzard. Of course they'll release something better in the end. It's like, the guy complained and everyone thought it was, because it was, like a too sexy a pose. And in the end, Blizzard releases a sexy pose that's offensive. Because, 50s pinup style. It's cheesecake, but it's not offensive.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody's happy in the end. What?
I'm sure there's people out there who aren't happy, but then again, this is the internet. There's always going to be somebody who's never happy with anything. Okay. But the vast majority of everybody seems happy about it, and in the end, everybody gets what they want. I suppose if you still want to look at Tracer's butt, there's still butt poses for you to look at. And Lord knows it's the internet, and you can find as many butt poses as you want of anybody. But yeah, it's a nice story with a good, happy ending. Yeah, and it involves the internet, which it makes it a surprise ending, too. Whee! But yeah, that was the big, fun, fictional news this week.
Oh, yeah, huge. Anyways.
Yeah. So how about you, though, this week? What you been doing on more personal levels?
Well, just my adventures in simulations, basically Minecraft. Not bad. Let's see, last week I was working on doing some mazes.
Oh, that's right.
So I built another maze. I'm going to do a few more, I think.
And you built it out of clay?
Clay floor.
Okay.
I went with purple stained clay for the floors. And green wool, dark green wool, which is a weird combination, but it was what I liked.
The Joker recommends it. Put a little splash of white in there with a little highlight of red. You got the Joker, baby.
That's true. Yeah. I didn't want it to be a Joker, although that's the Joker maze. Yeah, it's actually not a bad. It's kind of trickstery a little bit.
No laughing gas, traps though, right?
There is no laughing gas in Minecraft. So,
not in vanilla Minecraft.
Right. Do you have a mod with laughing gas in it?
No.
Okay.
I'm certain though, with all the mods,
probably somebody. Yeah.
Just as I'm sure there's been a mod out there where somebody replaces all the zombies with clowns.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was like the second maze that I built, or second little garden thing that I built, it was pretty big, and it was a lot of it was basically a whole night worth of building, but it still felt like it still feels small for some reason. I guess
it's a maze. It should always feel small when you're in it.
I guess that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I had fun, and there's like a center area with like a big glowstone pad in the middle. I'm not really sure what else to add in the middle, like maybe like diamond blocks or something.
That's the thing, you don't have the mods to add like a monster spawner in the center.
Yeah, that'd be good too. I could just like put a pig in there and name it like the big bad boar.
Asterion. Pretend he's a minotaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, put some signs up just before you enter. Please, humor the pig. Pretend like he's a minotaur.
Yeah. So I built a maze, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm having a lot of fun building mazes, and but then I sort of ran out of food, so I went back to my spawn area or near my spawn area, the center of the world, and wanted to do some work on my pig farms there, make them a bit more efficient and everything like that. So yeah.
That's right. Do you have to manually feed all the animals, or can you just like chuck food down and they'll eat it?
You have to in vanilla, you have to manually feed them, but I just hold down the right mouse button with the food, and then you sort of sweep over all, and it can feed them that way. Yeah,
but it'd be kind of nice to have like I guess it'd be like a dropper to just, like send out food at a related time, keep the population growing.
Yeah, like it occurred, like they have cake, which gets eaten slice by slice, and that could be a thing.
Well, they also have. Could you do a mod where it works the same sort of way with like a hay bale?
Yeah, I was thinking like you could plop down a hay bale and it gets eaten slice by slice the way a cake does.
Oh, but only cows would eat it then.
I guess. If it's
still
cows or sheep, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what pigs would eat. They eat
carrot cake.
Carrots in the in vanilla. I added apples and mushrooms to what pigs will eat.
Well, you could make a slop trough.
Yeah.
Just put in a whole bunch of that veggie-based stuff there, and it'll wind up getting eaten lower and lower.
Mm-hmm.
That actually doesn't sound like a bad notion for a mod. Just making it, like animal food stuff. So you plop down a few things of hay for the cows. Plop down, fill up the slop trough for the pigs.
Yeah. Again, somebody's probably tackled it at some point.
Chicken feeder thing, you just toss in all because Lord knows I got more than enough seeds.
Yeah.
I don't need any more, and yet I still won't throw any away.
Yeah.
Just put in that, and every once in a while, whenever the chicken goes by, it automatically feeds them. Or I suppose whenever they're go by and they are ready to eat, sort of thing. So once every 5 minutes at most. That's it. I've never heard of a mod that does that, but it seems like incredibly useful for even vanilla players as well as advanced players.
Yeah, I think it would probably be pretty good. Yeah.
So if you're looking for a mod to do out there,
somebody's looking for a project.
You make it. We'll plug it for you.
Yeah. So I think that's about pretty much all I've done in simulations. I went out to comedy shows every night this week.
Oh, very nice. Partaking of the culture.
Yeah, partaking of live entertainment, I suppose.
Oh, quite nice.
That's about it for me. How about your week?
I didn't get into Minecraft this week. I meant to, but I didn't. There was just so many things happening, and I just didn't get around to it. But I wanted to. I want to get back and going on there. Also, because I remembered that when I'm playing Minecraft, I like to listen to stuff in the background as I'm just going about things. And since I'm not playing Minecraft, I'm not getting caught up on my Welcome to Night Vales listening.
Ooh, oh yeah.
And I want to get back on that. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got to get into Minecraft so I can get it back into that so I can do it all together. But I'll have to wait, I guess, maybe to this upcoming week.
All right.
That said, I am working on an extra little bit. I have actually 2 accounts for Marvel Avengers Alliance. One for my me, where I'm doing my stuff, and then I got a dummy account that'll send gifts to me, so I get my 50 gifts a day sort of thing. Because it's a Facebook game, 50 a day is the upper limit.
Gifts. Not gifts.
Yeah, 50, whatever, small energies or whatever the local, temporary prize thing is. But I've started playing on the dummy account because I made the habit of this is a nice, easy character to get for a limited time only. But all I have to do is do this one thing once a day. Well, I can do that easily enough. Now that I'm started, I'm not going to finish until I get it finished, right?
Right.
But my daughter saw me playing, and for my dummy account, as I was creating the character, as I was starting it up, and I'm like, well, I've got me on this one, and who should I put there? And then I thought, well, I'll make one for my daughter, and so I called it Zomega, Agent Zomega of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So you gave her the dummy account.
Effectively and all that, and she's watching me play, and she's like, "Who's that, Daddy?" And I'm like, "That's you as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D." She's like, "Oh," and like her jaw drops. Oh, and she's like, "I'm an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D." I'm like, "Yeah, look, you're Agent Omega." And she's like, "That's so silly. I'm awesome. Look at me, Daddy.
Nice.
Boom, boom. I'm beating them up. I'm beating up the villains." And so like now I'm really playing and enjoying it, because like when she's watching me, it's like she's really getting into it. She's like, "Look at me, Daddy, I'm doing good." And
nice.
like how could I not want to play then? So I might have to wind up putting this little run every day into my standard practice just for my daughter. It's not too bad, because I mean the game does have like a daily things to do. It gives out good potential for prizes at the end, various rewards. Although right now I'm doing it for the bonus reward to get the limited time character.
Right.
And so I'm doing that, plus all the regular stuff I'm doing in my regular account, and that's eating up some decent time. It's like, ugh. But I'm having a lot of fun. This special ops I'm playing on right now, it ends in, I believe, less than 24 hours. But I got all the limited edition items on my guy. Every special ops that they release now has a 4-part gear set. And the more pieces of the set you get, the better each other piece becomes. They get synergy bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time in, oh my goodness, years, I managed to get all 4 pieces. Due to a combination of luck and tenacity and good characters just kicking ass as I go through, I managed to get everything. All 4 pieces. And I'm like, I don't want to replace my main set with this, because I got some really good limited edition items that do a lot of awesome things. It's really good versatile for me out in the field. But over in PvP, I've got 2 ringers. I've got Iron Man and the Iron Patriot, and they can take out most of the people I'm fighting in PvP. So why don't I just put that on there? And so I put this set on, and oh my goodness, I'm enjoying this one. So I'm having a lot of fun trying out a different gear set than I've tried in a very long time. And some of these items are just like, I feel almost like abusively, because each item has a chance to trigger another item, which in turn has a potential chance of triggering another item down the way. So I've got a quick blast pistol, which has a free action. I can blast at one person, that I've had a few times trigger off a thing that hits everybody. And there's been a few times when I've used that weapon, it's done a single attack from a third weapon on everybody. And I want to see if I can ever get them to all string together where everything happens all at once.
So that hasn't happened yet, though.
Not yet. But that's okay, because the 4th weapon in the series basically kills any one person I hit with it. So long as I can hit that guy, they are going down. And so that's kind of nice to have, is that nice high-powered weapon in there. So it's not like I've got my 2 big ringers, and then I'm just working defense and healing up and making sure nobody dies, right? So it's nice to feel like I'm a contributing member of my PvP team once again.
Right.
And so, yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that. And like I said, it's been years since I got a full working set together for anything. And it's nice to say, like, I got it, man. I got it all. It's all, woo, together. And I'm riding a little high on that one there as I'm going about things. Of course, that said, the big thing I'm doing these days is getting more lock boxes for my daughter to open, because it's like opening a blind bag that I don't have to wind up paying for. I don't even want the guy we're going after, but I keep going around to get the boxes I can get every day, so I can open up a 10-pack and guarantee one more from my daughter, so that she'll have fun. Like she'll drum her fingers on there. Ooh, what are we gonna get, Daddy? What are we gonna get? Drum, 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 drum. And opens. What do we get? Oh, it's a duplicate. And so we're just having fun with that, and so that's what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for the fun.
Cool.
I would kind of like a character I wouldn't mind. And I've actually been browsing around. I found like a villain I really want to see in the game, and I want to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just a complete off-the-wall villain that as soon as I saw the picture, it's like, wow, what is up with this person? Picture a scientist who replaces her head with a large red ball. Okay. It's a cybernetic organic plastic.
It's Ballhead.
What's the thing? Is like her name is Ruby Thursday.
Weird. Okay.
Her real name is Thursday Rubenstein. So that's kind of how you go when you're named that way, right? But this, the guy who created her was the same guy who created Howard the Duck. So I guess that kind of explains where this guy's headset was. He came up with a lady scientist who replaced her head with something, and a guy who's like an intelligent duck. Now I gotta say, as soon as I saw it, it's like, oh, whoa, wait, I'm seeing a picture of the villainous group she's with. There's a guy who's he shrunk his bones in an accident, but nothing else of his body shrunk. So he's just kind of like a person in a slightly larger person outfit. It all looks all sloppy and all stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's creepy. I kind of dig him as a villain. That's not bad. And a guy who's got a human head and a monkey body. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a standard, a mad scientist supervillain thing. I wanted to become more powerful, so I replaced my weak human body with a ape body. I'm big old strong now. Haha. Yeah, and then I look over and it's like, whoa, this person doesn't even have a head. And then I hear about her story and I'm like, that's dedication. Let's say you came up with a synthetic bioplastic that could change shape and emit radiation and energy blasts.
Uh-huh.
And I will note, these are energy blasts and powers tough enough to fight the Hulk.
Okay, yeah.
She and her team fought the Defenders, which is the Hulk, Namor the Submariner, and Doctor Strange. And these are big, heavy hitters. And she was able to fight them and not get smoked.
Okay.
She takes down two of them. So you come up with a powerful biosynthetic plastic thing, polymer that winds up responding to commands and all that. What body part do you replace with that, Josh?
Oh, fists. Duh.
She is so dedicated. She knew this was going to be so good. This is not something you just replace a hand on. This is not something you replace a fist on, not an entire arm on, not a leg. You replace your head with this.
Okay.
That is dedication, my goodness. You've seen Mysterio, right, from the the Spider-Man series?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but a lady instead of some sort of goober special effects guy.
Okay.
And it's wow, man, I want to see that villain. I want to fight that villain in the game. I want to see that villain on the big screen. That is an amazingly entertaining villain.
So that's Ruby Thursday.
Ruby Thursday, named after the Ruby Tuesday stuff done in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
It's a restaurant chain.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Apparently, this is the kind of guy who creates a person who replaces their head with advanced electronics, and then decides to name them after a restaurant chain.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
But you know what? It works. It's got my attention, and she's a bit of a power player, sort of thing. She's known as being fairly potent. When Wolverine a couple years back had to fight a several thousand-year-old, equivalency of him called Romulus, who does he enlist? He enlists Ruby Thursday, as it turns out, because she can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk with just her crazy plastic head and hold her own. So, I'll break her out of the they call it the raft. It's where they store all the really dangerous prisoners. I'll break her out of there, and then we'll use her to help on out. She doesn't work properly, and she tries to get away, so they wind up tossing her back in the raft. No harm, no foul, I suppose. But yeah, she's that kind of person you go to. It's dude, we need a real power player. It's let's get that what do you call it, plastic redhead lady.
Real redhead.
Well, that's the thing is with proper concentration, she can actually change herself to look like she's got a regular, normal human head.
Okay.
But she's perfectly fine with a big old red sphere for a head, and she's fine with that.
But when she does take human form, does she go with red hair?
Yeah, it has to be redhead. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if she was a redhead before she replaced her head with her newfangled biopolymer stuff. But that's how she goes now. The best part is she can detach, and then she can move her body and her ball head independently.
Okay.
That's pretty boss too. And apparently, for some reason, she's got an electronic backup of her personality. So if something does happen to someone blows her head off, well, that's okay. And, she'll get a new copy of it downloaded and put into a new plastic ball sphere, and she'll be back up again later.
I feel like you could invent this character by like having a bunch of toys in your toy box and like, oh, here's a doll without a head. Oh, here's a rubber ball. Kunk. Just pop it on there.
I won't say that's how he came up with it, but I won't say that's definitely not how he came up with it. But it's just such it's such a wonderful Silver Age villain sort of thing. Because she came out in the 60s, and it's like, wow, yeah, I can tell. This sounds like something from the 60s. This is I have a hard time describing. Like, you just Google up like Ruby Thursday. This is just an amazingly crazy villain. It's just like, I've seen a lot of villains in the big screen and in the comics, and this is a villain that automatically stands out for me. This is a crazy villain. I want to see this villain fighting other people. She had a friend, sort of thing, in part of her evil league. He lost his body. And so she and her other evil scientist friends, they put together a monster body for him because, one, they think it would be better than a regular human body, and two, it's hilarious to do that.
Okay, yeah.
It's just like, yeah, we give you wings, and you got tentacle suckers, and you're now like an evil Cthulian abomination. And he's like, no, I want a human body, and everyone's laughing at him because it's funny to do that to your friend. Ha, you lost your body, so I replaced it with something horrible and, monstrous. It's like, so she's got a sense of humor. This is wonderful. So it's like, yeah, man. So I managed to learn about a really entertaining villain.
It's another villain to add to, if they are doing a Deadpool sequel.
Well, see, here's the thing: is it could work for Deadpool, but at the end of this year, Benedict Cumberbatch will be releasing his Doctor Strange movie.
It's going to be Doctor Strange. Ooh, yeah.
Doctor Strange is one of the Defenders. And I'm really hoping they do a Defenders sort of thing, because, one, they've done absolutely nothing with Submariner, like, anywhere. He's not in the Marvel Avengers Alliance game. He's nowhere, mentioned at all in the cinematic universe. No one's done anything with him, and so it'd be nice to kind of bring him into the fold at some point, sure. Even if he is kind of a jerk. And the Hulk. The Hulk is not going to be in this year's Civil War, in the Captain America movie.
Okay.
Which is a shame, because I'd like to see, I'm on, the team, Iron Man. I'm on Team Captain America, and then there's Hulk over here. I'm on Team Smash Puny Humans.
Is Civil War coming out the same year as Batman vs Superman? They're both.
It is coming out this year, yeah.
So they're both doing the same thing in the same year.
Well, not quite, sort of thing. They're both taking a classic, or at least a well-liked story. The Batman vs. Superman being the Dark Knight thing by Frank Miller, whereas the Civil War happened a few years ago in the comics.
Okay.
Debating as to how big the reviews were and how much everyone liked every single part of it.
How many years do you think it'll be before those two companies, one of them buys the other? I'm guessing Disney Marvel buys Warner DC.
I don't know. They're both pretty big with deep pockets. I can see them lasting a ways. But I'll say this. If DC was smart, they could have bought Marvel when it was just about ready to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, like years ago.
If they had done that 15 years ago, they'd be laughing. They'd just be utterly rolling in the aisles, laughing with how much money they got. But yes, long story short, the Hulk is not going to be in the Civil War, though. Because whatever side he's on basically wins, right?
All right, got it.
He will be showing up in the Thor. Thor's not on either side in that one either.
Okay.
He will be showing up in the next Thor movie, like Ragnarok. Because what better area to put the Hulk in where he doesn't overshadow everyone else like the end of the Norse gods? Where he kind of fits in more with the power range, right? Yeah, you can have the Hulk in
Ragnarok
without him overpowering everything else. That's kind of, that's a nice thing. So the big thing is where are you going to get your extra pictures of the Hulk from? The movies of the Hulk over the years did not do very well at the box office. If the Marvel juggernaut of the cinematic universe has had any stumbles, it's been with the Hulk movies.
Okay.
So apparently they're not going to trust Hulk with his front name picture sort of thing. But as a secondary character, he can work, right?
All right.
And an ensemble cast, he can work. And what like there's only so many Avengers movies you're going to be putting out, so why not the Defenders? You got Bender, you got Comeback coming on out. You've got the Hulk already going out there, and getting a few other people that have been Defenders over the years. Bada bing, bada boom. You've got yourself a nice high-powered team that works in addition to the Avengers.
Well, very good.
And like a great villain, Ruby Thursday.
Okay.
She's a crazy villain to see in there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And admittedly, it's not easy to find a list of villains that can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk and not just immediately just get smoked down.
All right, yeah.
So, there's a list of someone who can actually do that and has done it in the past comic books. So, yeah. Plus, what would the Hulk, do immediately I would stop him for at least a second. He's smashing stuff, and then somebody comes up, and all of a sudden, where's your head, lady? It's just a red sphere. It's crazy. And then, pachoom! Energy ray. Knocks him right in the kisser.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, learning up new stuff.
Yeah.
Because I won't lie, I love Marvel's heroes, but a lot of their villains I'm not big on. I actually prefer DC's villains up against Marvel's heroes. Some of the Marvel heroes have been either,
Magneto comes to mind immediately as one of the better villains ever.
No, yes. Because he's got such a sympathetic backstory, you can be all right with him doing these horrible acts.
Yeah, but Spider-Man has some less than stellar villains.
He's fought the Spot, with his ability to create little pocket areas where he punches into one little black hole and his fist comes out another one. So I remember one where Spider-Man tries to punch him in the face and winds up hitting himself in the stomach that way. So it's yeah. So it's not exactly the grand. That's not something you're going to be seeing in a Spider-Man movie. And so a villain that really catches my eye and really makes me want to know, I want to know more about this person right now. That's a villain for me. And I see a lot more of that for the DC villains than the Marvel villains.
Yeah.
Whereas the DC heroes are either overplayed or they've got some issues that need to be worked out first. Whereas the Marvel heroes, they're flawed but ultimately understandable and relatable, and thus I can really dig in with them better.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So, hooray, finding more villains I can enjoy wanting to learn more about.
Cool. Is that it? What did you do anything else?
More of the Secret World this week. I've been trying to do as many weekly and daily tasks as possible. I tried more PvP stuff. I almost helped us win.
Right.
We came very close. We came a very close second place in the Stonehenge. I think once an hour you can do the Stonehenge thing, and if your side wins, you get a bonus for your in-world play. Your heals do more healing, your damage does more damage, only by about 1%. But that stuff can add up if you got all three zones working for you.
Okay.
And you gain more experience points per, that. You get a bonus if you gain control. So I'm trying to help out for my side. Woo! Cool. Unfortunately, I ran into the same guy that is almost invulnerable when I was playing over in the Shambhala area, and I'm like, oh, he's not on my side. This guy. Do you know his name or? It's Run Amok. Run Amok Roll.
All right.
If you're out there, I know who you are. But that's the thing. I tried checking up on the Chronicle, see what stats and all that stuff he's got, and dang, he's made it private. I can't see what skills he's using or what items he's got.
Huh.
Damn that Run Amok. He's always one step ahead of me. Of course, that said, I do know some of the moves, so I was able to work out at least 3 or 4 of his abilities based on what he was doing when I was just watching him after I died. And, was just... That's the thing. In the Shambhala, once you die, you can't come back. It's it's an elimination challenge. But you can toggle through and watch your teammates as you go. You're kind of with an over-the-shoulder look.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, hey, Run Amok's on my side, and now that I'm dead, and I scroll over, and oh, hey, I know that move. I know that one. I got that one. I see that buff going up there. That's that one. So I wasn't writing things down, but I figure if I could, watch a little bit longer, I could pretty much pick out the skill set he was using for both weapons as well as abilities.
Okay.
Cool. Maybe not gear, although I could guess some of his extra bonus stuff that he's got hooked up on there.
Right.
That said, I'm not that big into it to try and deduce the secret of Run Amok.
Okay.
I'm happy when he's on my side, and when it's Shambhala PvP, I can bring him down. But when it's something like a King of the Hill castle, a concept over at Stonehenge, I hate the fact that he's never going to be on my side. And whenever I see him, it's like, tab around to somebody else and fight them instead. But yes, I'm not doing good in PvP. I'm losing more games than I'm winning in it, but I'm trying.
Okay. Yeah.
So the weird thing is, I tried over at they have one. It's a persistent battleground called Fusong.
Okay.
And I go in there to play. So you've joined a team, and I look over. It's like, well, where's the team roster for the rest of my guys? And that's when I realized, like, I don't think there's anyone else on my team. And I look around, and I go around in there, and like, I'm the only person in this battleground, because Shambhala is quicker and has a definitive end. It's basically eliminated people from wanting to go into the Fusong.
Sure.
I'm all alone. It's now an abandoned battleground.
Huh.
So I ran around and got as many little point things as I could, and then I just kind of left.
Yeah, I guess.
Because there was nothing I could have tried to bust into the other faction's headquarters, but they're protected by a turret and a force field. If I touch the force field, I die automatically, and that turret needs an entire group to take down.
Right.
Which I did not have with me. So yeah, no go on that one. But it was nice to try, nice to actually run around and get a lay of the land without worrying about getting shot in the back of my head for not looking in the right direction, right? So that was kind of nice. If that PvP zone ever picks up again, I'm sure to be better at it than before.
Okay, yeah.
Other than that, a lot of, birthday, family-related stuff, so I didn't get as much done as I would have liked.
Okay, sure.
I am slowly finishing up my the adventure story I'm working on for Ravenloft.
Good.
But I'm finding it harder to put in these last few remaining pieces because I have everything else structured. Now whatever I put in has to work in there, so it has to be a very precise fit. And so I can't just make up a thing like, and then we'll say this happens. It's like, no, because that would, invalidate anything that happens in the later sequence of events I want to have for the story. So I have to carefully craft my pieces now. Which is fine by me. It just does mean slower going.
Okay.
And then once I'm done, I'm going to double polish it by making sure I keep track at each stage, like where all the major characters are and where are the players. Because I can't forget about the players, right? So
Sure.
I'm going to make sure they all line up and make sure everyone's got a role in what they're doing, at least as long as they're alive. It's Ravenloft. Not everyone gets out alive.
Sounds fun. Sounds like it will be good when it gets out.
I'm quite enthused about it. The bit about having to figure out how to put it into a PDF is not appealing to me, but it's got to be done for the greater good. So, yeah. Fortunately, there's places out there and free GIMP software with a lot of tutorials on YouTube that should I be able to get my focus on, put on a pair of headphones and really pay attention in there, I should be able to pick up quickly enough. So, fingers crossed. Cool. I don't have an amazing adventure and then get frustrated because I can't put it on the right PDF. So, yeah.
All right.
Other than that, I watched King Kong vs. Godzilla this week. And this is going to seg into our topic, because it's King Kong versus Godzilla. They get the billing.
Yes, yeah.
King Kong gets top billing, but there's only two people on the billing.
This is a film now.
Yeah, yes. Back in, I believe it was the 60s, 62, 63, Toho got permission to work with King Kong. Toho is the guys that did the Godzilla movies for so many years. I think they're still doing Godzilla movies to this day.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be King Kong versus Frankenstein, where somebody builds like a Frankenstein out of various animal parts to create a giant, hybrid animal to fight King Kong.
That sounds cool.
It does sound pretty cool. But then Toho realized, dude, we got the rights to Godzilla. Why don't we make it King Kong versus Godzilla?
And that's what they do, is they do Godzilla. So
Yeah. It's like, dude, we got the rubber suit and mask stuff going on here right now. Why don't we just make that happen?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, is in the end, most of it wasn't about King Kong or Godzilla. It was about various people. the two men sent by their producer to go find King Kong and bring him back for ratings on their show.
So the majority of screen time, or story time even, is spent on human characters rather than the monsters who are,
No, mind you, they are very heavily affected by the monsters. Godzilla makes landfall. Oh my gosh, we all gotta hide. King Kong's coming. We all gotta to get out of here.
Well, I know some movies. Some people sometimes will complain about like a big monster movie because the monster doesn't even appear till like 2/3 of the way through the movie.
I've grown okay with that.
Okay.
I've watched enough old movies like some Creature of the Black Lagoon type stuff where the monster doesn't even appear till halfway through, and then the monster doesn't really get the grand screen time until like the final 10 minutes sometimes in these movies.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've grown okay with that.
But this is another issue or a related issue?
But this is the thing. It's like these people didn't the characters didn't get billing. Although mind you, the ladies in there they're big name actresses sort of thing. So I suppose they should have gotten some good screen time, which they did. They became Bond girls later on, sort of thing. So
cool. Okay.
So yeah, you're looking up Bond girls and all that. That's them. They're in there. So I suppose because they're big name actresses, they're supposed to. They had a guy who was called the Japanese equivalent of Charlie Chaplin. He was a great comedic actor, and so I can understand him getting some decent screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, shouldn't it have been more about Godzilla versus King Kong, fighting each other, and as opposed to them doing a small match midway through and then a final, scene in the end?
I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I don't know.
They did have to set up the reason for how you get the two of them together. It was weird, though, for a bit of it, because King Kong had to be enlarged 4 times larger than he normally was. And they had a bit where, for reasons unknown, lightning makes him stronger. So if he gets struck by lightning, he's got he's more powerful.
I guess they realized that he wasn't really a match for Godzilla, so they had to power him up a bit.
Yeah.
This was internal to the plot? Like, as part of the plot was like they increased his size somehow and lightning
there
powers?
was just the thing is, according to all the King Kong movies I've seen, Kong is not one ape. King Kong is like a lot of apes that spend their times over, I guess it would be the Solomon Islands? Yeah, it'd be
in the
effectively...
South Pacific?
Yeah, the South Pacific, just kind of north by northeast of Australia.
Yeah, okay.
Over in those islands. Apparently that's where Skull Island is, somewhere around there, right?
Cool.
And that's just one of the many islands that the various Kongs are on. And they do have to swim from island to island to make sure they don't eat everything on there. So that's why you don't see more than one Kong at a time.
Yeah.
And apparently this was just like the biggest of the big ones, sort of thing. But here's the thing is, I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, it's like, okay, I suppose it's understandable that they don't get most of the time, both screen-wise and plot-wise, because neither of which can really speak. Godzilla does this rah thing, and King Kong can use ooh stuff, but that's really about all they can do. That's it, really. I mean, until you came up with the King Kong version with Jack Black in it, where they went through and made King Kong very much like an ape. And because of all the CGI they were able to do, they were able to make him mimic and move like an ape, so you could really get a read of his body language to portray a lot more of him and his personality than other Kongs could do, being just a man in an ape suit around tiny things.
Right.
Or a stop-motion creature.
Okay.
So I guess I can understand that, but then it occurred to me, wait a minute, I remember watching the original Transformers movie and being upset that it was really not about the Transformers, it was about a bunch of people, and the Transformers were all secondary characters in that one, despite the fact that they got the billing in the movie. It was, more about Shia LaBeouf and...
so not the original Transformers, but the...
No, not the 1984 cartoons movie, no, I'm talking about the live-action one.
So, 2003?
2000 and what's it, yeah. But yeah, it was more about them and the various other characters and people going in there than it was actually about the Transformer characters. It was more about humans with Transformers in the background. And I'm like, but hey, wait a minute, all these giant, like robots can talk, so they could clearly have a dominance of at least plot, time as opposed to full screen time. I can understand a bit of a lack of screen time because the more you show them, the more you have to pay money for the CGI for them. So I can understand that, I suppose, except that that's really what the movie's about, is seeing the giant Transformers. And like, well, why did they not have a majority of the plot time to them? So why can't the big guys, why can't these big, I'll call them all monsters, because they're not humans in this case. So why can't the non-humans get more screen time? What's going on? Why do the humans manage to hog all the screen time and plot time? I can understand it for some movies. The Blob is like not something that's going to wind up with a lot of plot points. You're not going to hear the Blob give a soliloquy or a backstory about it. You're not going to get much for zombies, because as I've said, the zombie is just like a reason to get a bunch of people in a terrified, highly tense environment. You could make the same argument for the Blob, although really, the Blob is about some other, deep-seated things, but it is analogous for other issues. And it should never be about the issue, it should be about the person. So I can understand both zombies and Blob. Okay, they're monsters I can buy. But why not the other monsters? Why can't they get more screen time?
Well, I mean, I think it's in the word screen, because I think a film is a very specific expression of art that people go to, and they need to see a human face, and they need to see a human character. And this is common wisdom in Hollywood, at least, and movies that don't do this get criticized, is that if you don't have a strong human lead, then people won't enjoy the movie, and it'll get bad ratings. Reviewers won't like it.
Why would a person want to go see a movie called King Kong versus Godzilla that, by weight has not, a majority of King Kong and Godzilla?
I don't think, the average moviegoer...
Or we'll say the Transformers in that way, too.
I don't think the average moviegoer is going to really think too much about, I didn't see enough King Kong. They're going to want...
see enough Transformers in my Transformers movie.
They're going to want some payoff, and you have to give them something relatively early in the movie, like maybe a little preview of a battle or a little skirmish between
There was
King
a
Kong,
bit
Godzilla.
where King Kong and Godzilla skirmished about midway through the movie, but earlier on there was a bit where King Kong fought a giant squid.
Yeah, you need those sort of things peppered throughout the movie, so you don't disappoint your audience.
To build up to the big third act finale.
And then you have a big fight at the end. But I don't think a movie I don't think most audience members are saying as long as you get those in there, I don't think they're going to feel ripped off by the main story being humans.
Unless the human characters prove to be weak and unlikable.
Yeah, that happens sometimes too. But think of Kevin Smith and his movie making style.
Okay.
And he's mentioned before that if he made a Superman movie, it would be Jay and Silent Bob talking to each other, or Dante and Randall just in the supermarket talking to each other while Superman's out here doing this fight, right? So, because Kevin Smith very much focuses on just normal people talking to each other.
Although I will note his plot for the Superman movie that he had written out was absolutely boss, man.
Yeah, I think he did a good one.
From what I've seen of it.
But his style is just to have, he very much cares about just dialogue between two realistic
Kevin Smith
characters.
does dialogue.
Yeah.
I remember you and I were watching Tusk and thinking man, if all it is this guy just listening to the old guy give tales, I would be completely happy with this in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then we realized, wait, that would just be a reskin of An Evening with Kevin Smith, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's true, but part of that, that's why you get a few movies like My Dinner with Andre is an example. Have you heard of that one or seen it?
I've heard of it, but for some reason my mind always crosses it with Andre the Giant.
It's not My Dinner with Andre the Giant.
No.
It's this style of movie that's basically just two people talking and just having a conversation over dinner. That's the entire film. And the other thing is, this really gives it gives actors a chance to really act when it's just talking and just back and forth, as opposed to the action scenes and fighting scenes. It's great for technical people and CGI people, but people are really fans of the art of acting. They don't have as much to sink into.
But that's the thing. I mean, not every movie has to be that way. I mean, like if you're going for a legal courtroom drama, you probably don't want to see very many high-speed car chases, shootouts, and giant monsters in the background. Unless it's a She-Hulk movie, in which case you could probably get both in and make it work really well. Yeah, if you're looking for a plot for a She-Hulk movie, I think we got you covered there, man. I think we just managed to mesh it up the right way for you. Because I want to see that movie now. But yeah, I mean, so like you're not supposed to be expecting, like a big monster in the background of, like a legal courtroom battle.
Yeah, that's true.
So why would you be expected to see a lot of people in a monster movie?
Well, because it's a movie. Because that's sort of, it's not a monster exhibition. It's not a monster theme park ride. It's a monster movie. And in movies, we have actors. These are the conventions we have. We have actors, we have dialogue, we have people talking to each other.
But when I watch, let's say a documentary about, lions on savannah, I'm not expecting to see Shia LaBeouf talking for 30 minutes.
Not
unless he's talking about how much he's running away from the lions and what the heck was he doing there to begin with. In which case, that is a plot point I do want very clearly resolved by the end of my little documentary.
In documentaries, though, you always have David Attenborough.
I am perfectly fine with a human narrator.
Yeah, he's voicing the entire thing, like he's always with you.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a human narrator. I do recall, was it the Mating Habits of the Earthbound Male? Do you remember that one?
No.
Oh, it's basically like a romantic comedy, dating sort of thing, except that David Hyde Pierce narrates it as like an alien Attenborough.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds funny.
It's very funny, quite nice, and it does have a lot of Ally McBeal kind of segs into how things go and what things are like on the inner workings. Mm-hmm. I guess you could compare it off with like David Attenborough and what's the other one that David Hyde Pierce did? It was Osmosis Jones. You get a mix between the animation of like what's going on inside Frank's body to outside, with like the real world stuff. Mm-hmm. Trust me, if you find it, watch it. It's a great movie. You'll enjoy it. But it's a non-human narrator sort of thing on that one. Yeah. But I'm perfectly fine with a narrator working on that sort of stuff.
All right, yeah. The other thing, though, is if you dip into novels and comic books and a few other alternatives, because film is big and film costs a lot of money and there's a lot riding on it, so they want to
fair enough
stick to conventions. But if you get into things like novels and comic books, you will find more of the sort of non-standard character, like a novel about a robot.
Swamp Thing, I think, is perhaps maybe a best example about that. Done by the same guy who did Watchmen, Fever, Vendetta, and all that fun stuff. Alan Moore, he did a long-standing run on Swamp Thing, which is about a large green vegetative mass in a humanoid shape with weird shit happening all. I bleep that out if you want, but that's basically the best way to describe it. It's just weird shit happening all over the place with the swamp and nature, and like it had a vibe of say the Tales from the Crypt sort of stuff going on there, with horrible things happening to horrible people.
Well, another thing, this is a good example too, because that is a good piece of work, and a lot of effort went into it.
It was Alan Moore, so we can say it was, if nothing else, like wonderfully inspired.
Yeah, a great artist, and maybe that's part of the thing, though, is that it's a bit more difficult to infuse a story that humans can actually read and relate to. When the main characters are not human, it takes effort to be able to say, okay, well, how can I get people to react to this car/robot like in a human way? Because you can't it's easy mode. If you're just throwing people, like two characters on a screen, especially two actors who like have skills already, it's like, go, like, here's some dialogue, go do it. That's easy. Like not easy.
Sometimes you don't even need dialogue. If the actor is very good at improv, sort of thing, they can just off the cuff it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And I mean, it's built in just by virtue of them being a human. They have certain mannerisms and stuff that, that's what a person, sure, I believe that. That's what a person acts like. I can relate to that thing I'm seeing on screen. So I'm not saying it's lazy or easy. Well, maybe I am. It's easy to do that, and I think that's why that happens so much in film, is that's you don't have to do extra effort.
So the more human the monster is, the more screen time they'll wind up getting.
I think that would be true. Yeah.
Which is why you can do something like Bram Stoker's Dracula and have Dracula feature very prominently. Admittedly, there are other characters in there, but Dracula keeps popping up. Dracula is right there, even if he winds up being the antagonist of his own story. He's still very much there because he is still very much human.
But I'll also point out that Pixar has been ahead of this curve in humanizing non-human toys, cars. I don't know if they did well with the Airplanes movie, but
I think people were just
idea.
getting fatigued on the general concept of that stuff, and they had contractual obligations.
But yeah, like Pixar is. I mean, you don't even think of a
what
fish.
If emotions had emotions?
Nemo or is that Pixar? Yeah,
I believe so.
Emotions, yeah. The emotions are kind of more. They feel like humans. They look like people.
They are very easy to personify, given that they are aspects of persons.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll buy that.
So I think some people do it better than others, and that's part of the thing. Is that it is it's a layer of effort and skill that has to go into humanizing your monster.
Now, what about the reverse of this? I'm recalling the classic Disney Cinderella, which would have been like a 15-minute short if it wasn't for all those mice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Disney is a very early example of how to humanize non-human things and creatures. Yeah, and I think they spent a lot of effort on that too.
So, okay, yeah. So then what you're saying is because King Kong and Godzilla had to be monstrous things that inherently limited them for the amount of screen time and plot time they could have had.
I guess, yeah, because I mean, it's not that they're serious movies, but they're sort of serious monsters.
Okay, I'll admit, yeah, they're not serious movies, but they do have to be very scary sort of things, like the two guys that are on the island, as they're looking for the Kong sort of thing. The natives are, bowing down, everyone's freaking out, panicking, and it's like, oh, it's just thunder, that's all. That's what their god is. They're just afraid of thunder and lightning, huh? And then you hear King Kong do his giant, big old ape screech howl thing, and then it's like, we should get down and pray, and they wind up falling to their knees out of fear of what it might be out there, this horrible unknown that is, causing everyone to just worship it like a god.
Yeah.
I mean, and so yeah, that's a scary monster. That's how scary Kong is.
I guess I'm kind of cheating with the Pixar example because they do jokes and stuff like that, right? So I mean, imagine if Godzilla versus King Kong was a comedy.
It had its humorous bits. The people inside the suits were allowed to choreograph themselves in their fight scenes, and so they copied a lot from wrestling maneuvers. Or as much as you can for two people in giant rubber foam suits.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was comedic aspects about it, but and actually there was the one guy there, as I said, he was considered to be the Japanese Charlie Chaplin, who was very good at adding a little humor to his scenes.
Well, you brought up the Peter Jackson King Kong, and didn't they at some points sort of do close up on the monkey's eyes and really sort of try and get into his soul a bit? Yes,
and as I said, with the body language, that aided it greatly. So that was its effective ability to speak. Mm-hmm. It can't just bust out I'm gonna take you up to the top of the Empire State Building and smack some planes.
Yeah.
It had to wind up emoting in ways that most actors, I suppose, just have wet dreams about being able to have the chance of doing in a movie. If you get a real live actor to be able to emote that sort of stuff out, that's an Oscar gold movie going on there.
Yeah, I think that's
So yeah, I guess that King Kong got a really lucky job in that case.
But another thing I wanted to say about stories is, there are so many, like, there's infinite number of stories that can be told.
The never-ending story.
And sometimes there's a story, there is this story of the side character, or the person who's like, who isn't, they live in the same universe as King Kong, but they're not directly interacting necessarily, or maybe they only one time interact with him, but they have a pretty interesting story too. And maybe it can only happen in the universe that also has a giant monkey in it. However, the story ultimately is very mundane. It's like, oh yeah, I went to work and there was, a giant monkey, and I argued with my coworker, and we have movies like that are just sort of very low-level office dramas or whatever, and they're good stories and worth, paying your $15 for a movie ticket for.
Well, go on Cheap Tuesdays.
or on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
But, these stories also exist, so you have to balance whether, when it comes to time to making your big box office
hopefully big box office movie,
blockbuster, you have to decide whether you're telling this sort of epic, like, giant monsters fighting each other story versus this other story that's equally like a good script, but, I don't know, maybe not the same special effects or same characters.
It's much more internal combat going on.
Yeah. But I do get that, like, when people buy a ticket for a movie that's called King Kong vs. Godzilla, they're expecting, like, oh, there's going to be this big fight and it's going to be cool, and, they want that. And I want that if I go in a movie like that. Although I am, personally, I'm very willing to forgive a movie for if they want to change what they're going to do, like, I'm definitely okay with it. And this is something I had to teach myself how to do, like, to be okay with, as long as the movie's still good. Like,
that's always the caveat. I mean,
but I'm fine with a movie, like, sort of doing a bait and switch for me like that at this point in my life. Like, I will accept that. I know not every audience member will, but, like, I feel like I'm sophisticated or something.
I do remember being slightly miffed about watching Fargo in the beginning, because I was told it was a comedy. But nobody said it was a black comedy, so I'm like,
oh yeah,
there's no jokes, there's nothing here, nothing wacky,
it's just horrible things happening.
It's just like it's not a bad movie, but it's like I was really expecting a comedy. This is not what my head is into for right now. I gotta stop this thing. Where's my Three Stooges? So yeah, I wound up stopping the movie at the time. Like, I did go back and watch it, when my mind was right for a black comedy. But, when I went in there watching, hey, it's going to be a comedy, I expected more like, like I said, like a Three Stooges sort of wackiness going on. So there is something to be said about making sure the audience knows what they're getting in for. I do recall a lot of people being upset about Sweeney Todd.
Oh, yeah. They didn't know it was going to be a musical?
Yeah. It apparently was
what
not.
What is this song's music for?
I was like, I did not want to be seeing a musical. I thought I was going to watch a Johnny Depp, like, killing people movie. Apparently that's what they were in for. I don't know why anybody would not like musical, but maybe I'm just very pro-musicals. I'm very pro-musical, by the way. If you can, advance the plot by singing out a nice little tune, I am all the way for it.
I'm fine with musical numbers, I think. Yeah, I think I was I liked them less when I was younger.
See, now your parents should have gotten you to see Little Shop of Horrors when you were younger.
Oh, I think I saw that in my early 20s.
That is way too late.
Yeah.
I
really loved that one.
I saw it before I hit puberty. It's a good movie, even better when you're younger. And it teaches you to love some good music. Although
I remember not liking every song. Same with, like, a show like Grease and stuff. I don't like every song in those musicals, but a couple of the songs I really get into.
I know over in Rent, there's one song I'd be happy if they just forgot it ever existed. And a few others that's just like, okay, it's not a bad song, but let's keep going on for plot here.
I do wonder if that's, like, if those songs that you were like, I don't really, if those are somebody else's, like, favorite song.
I do believe the song I dislike was supposed to be an intentionally weird and off song because it's supposed to represent the art scene of New York at the time. As a very postmodernist sort of thing. It's like, I get you're trying to be different.
Yeah.
But suck is different sometimes too, so just be careful on that. Also, the character was kind of a flake, so it was kind of hard to like an unlikable character. But okay, we'll work with Little Shop of Horrors, because that's a movie that features a monster, Audrey. Or sorry, Audrey 2. Audrey was a nice lady with a bad relationship.
I like the word little shop in the title because it makes it feel like, oh, I'm going to see a shopkeeper. Like, you're definitely going to see the guy who runs the shop.
Mr. Mushnick.
If it's a Little Shop of Horror, that's who you're going to, you're expecting the show to be about.
You expect it to be personal sort of thing when it says something like a Little Shop
of horrors.
If I was watching the Walmart of horrors, then I'd expect, like a bunch of non-personalities just getting eaten by monsters left, right, and center.
Well, if it was called, like, Audrey the Giant, or if it was even called just the Giant Plant Monster, they'd be like, oh, now that's...
Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Yeah, it could have been called that.
Yeah, there's a song with that one. So, I mean, that could legitimately work as the title.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, it shows up fairly early, and its monstrous potential grows as it does. And so I'm okay with it not being immediately there, because you do see it's like a blood-eating... A spoiler alert? Nah, forget it, not a spoiler. It's like a blood-eating plant sort of thing. It needs blood to grow. Yeah. And then, like as it gets bigger, it needs proportionally more. Here's a spoiler on that one. It's effectively the story of Faust. The guy who sells his soul to Faust, yeah, the guy who sells his soul to Satan.
Yeah.
For what he wants. The plant is Satan.
Oh,
yeah. But I really like that one because it was there, and as it grows in it, oh my goodness, it can speak. It does more horrible things. It's very much in there as a plot point. And I will note, that was not an easy thing to do, especially with the technology of the day. Mm-hmm. Jim Henson's workshop, God bless their creative souls, they managed to make a creature articulate as it is. Unfortunately, the articulation meant it couldn't move at the speed they wanted. And so anytime you see it speaking, what they did was they did it at normal speed as they recorded it, and then they sped it up four times faster so it would look like it's speaking like you or I could speak, which made some of the song bits difficult. When Rick Moranis had to walk up close to it, he had to do that at 1/4 speed so that when things sped up, it would look like he's just walking normally. And anytime you've seen somebody sped up, you can see the little imperfections and things that go. So if you're paying attention, you can see it. That said, you really actually have to look. Rick Moranis is really good at that. But yeah, the monster's there throughout, and like it didn't even get any billing in there. I suppose it gets the final word in the billing. It is the horror.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a horror. There's some other horrific acts that occur within. I mean, like that dentist was a sadist, man. He's a horror too. So he's Audrey 2 is not the only horror.
At this point, though, like, I can imagine, like, what you're asking for at the beginning, your initial question, like, of a movie that's very much focused on a monster who is sort of not human, maybe a robot or an alien or a monster. I think it is possible, although it would be hard work, but I think you could write a script. You don't even need dialogue. It could be just, a 90-minute or 2-hour movie, 120-minute feature, just with a monster. Just you watch him and you fall in love with this monster, and like he does horrible things, like But you see it. It's like it'd be like, we'll say it's some sort of like a monster in the woods attacking like a bunch of people at like a camp sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's like it's eating because it has to eat to survive. Yeah, and you're watching from its perspective, and like at the end of a rampage, it goes home and he's it's got a wound or something. It's got to like patch it up, and it's munching on a teenager's like leg bone or something. I could really dig that because you know how like in the movies like the teenagers like, oh, we finally had sex, and one of them gets eaten and all that. It'd be nice to show that it's like the monsters coming on up. It's like, I'm so glad we finally got rid of our virginity. It's not like the monster was waiting for them to lose it. It's just really bad timing on their part. Because a lot of the times, in the movie where it's like, no longer a virgin, all of a sudden you're up for, being killed. It almost seems like the monster's waiting for you to become less pure before it can kill you, which is a reoccurring motif.
But it does make the monster look creepy when you start thinking about, like, why didn't they die earlier? Because they're a pure virgin. So it's like the monster was, like, watching them to make certain they went all the way.
Well, yeah, I'd like to follow the monster a little bit, see if the monster just happens to be, distracted by something else at the time, or, eating some other animal.
And that's the thing, you could give away hints for a lot of, like, actual plot, like seeing it from the other side by doing it as a monster. It could be a really inventive monster movie that way.
Yeah.
Depending on which monster style you want to go with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be a pretty boss movie.
And you know the scene where, like, the monster gets shot like 10 times with bullets and, like,
and it goes down and everyone thinks it's dead,
well,
but
that too.
You're watching it, right?
I was thinking of the scene where it looks like the monster's invincible to bullets, like a supernatural, like an undead, like a zombie or something.
Like an elephant thick hide, and you're working with your little PB shooter.
Yeah, and the police are like, "Oh my God, it's impervious to our bullets," and then like it kills the police or whatever, ends that scene, and then it goes back home. It's like, oh crap, like all these bullets are in me, like I'm probably gonna die.
It's like, okay, no one else is around. Limp. Oh my God. Oh, that hurt. Oh my God. It's a good thing they died when they did. Oh, I just about to fall over. Okay. Let's just start picking this stuff out and hope the healing gets in me in time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They do that whole scene where the guy has to do surgery on himself or whatever.
Or it's like a pumpkin head monster. It's like, oh, okay, and and it's got a scene where it's stuffing itself again and sewing up.
Stuff with hay or whatever.
Yeah. Stuffing the hay back in the new thing there, and actually, spending the time to properly stitch up the bullet
sewing
holes.
And everything.
See, that's the thing you can have.
Or has like a little pumpkin head wife who's like, "You ruined it again! Like, give me that." Sewing.
I could be boss, man. See, you could have a lot of fun with this. You could put in the comedy aspects of the whole thing. You could keep it very serious and work it as almost like a monster documentary thing. It's possible. There's ways to do that.
Yeah.
And I won't lie. I mean, I'm okay with the gradually increasing frequency monster sort of thing. Where Little Shop of Horrors starts off as a little bit, and you're showing the people, and then it becomes more and more prominent the bigger and more monstrous it gets. The same could be done with the werewolf movies. Guy comes into town, then something happens to him, and all of a sudden, transforms once, it's horrific, and then the aftermath, and then it winds up becoming effectively increasing in frequency. Not really, but because he starts losing more and more of his sanity, you can skip by the horrible effects of becoming a bloodthirsty monster, until it's like all you're showing is him for the 3 nights, because apparently a full moon lasts 3 nights, of him going on killing rampages, where it's just very little bit of him as the human person he once was. And I'm very okay with that sort of story. It just seems odd for stuff like King Kong and Godzilla, where they only feature more or less in like secondary character roles.
Yeah, and part of it is the technology. And you mentioned Audrey looking weird in those scenes.
Audrey looks fairly good. It's Seymour that winds up looking weird.
But the idea is the logistics of making a monster.
Be a viable monster.
Be believable on screen for that amount of time is actually a lot more difficult. Because if you just have them sort of 5-minute chunks at a time, then audience is like, okay, it's a scary monster. Well,
the Jaws sort of style, less is more.
Yeah. So
if you show more of Jaws, you'll realize it's just a really cheap animatronic shark, half. Because they don't even get the whole thing, because only the bits that come out of the water, they're And so the more you show, the more people will realize that's the exact same biting motion it made before coming on up.
Yeah. So you need one of two things. You need modern technology and really work at making it look as real as possible. Or the other thing is...
Or as unreal as possible, depending on the monster's nature.
Or use cartoon techniques like Pixar and Big Hero 6, it's just
the
basically a balloon or a car or whatever.
Yeah. Or CGI style, animated, whichever is your choice.
And go to the other side of the uncanny valley where this is definitely, cartoony, but okay,
it's
I
stylized.
Can see the emotions in it.
We'll call it. Cartoony is one aspect of it. You can work with other styles to make it that way.
Yeah, but I guess, we haven't really mentioned the uncanny valley, but I think that's important. If you're going to do a monster movie featuring the monster a lot, then you're going to have that uncanny valley effect.
Well, that's the thing is you also have an effect, a stylistic effect. I do know some of the Star Wars remastered stuff. They had to digitally change things around to match what people would have perceived more. And I'm not talking about putting like fake CGI monsters in the background of like a cantina thing. It's stuff like Darth Vader's helmet took a lot of wear and tear. And so when you look at it under the HD stuff without any of the added stuff, it really shows how much of a beating that poor helmet took. And so they had to CGI it a bit more glossy and more well polished to match up with what people remember it being, as well as, you know, like, because they were never meant to be filmed in such high resolution. So they had to fix things back to what they thought would be better. Which is a pseudo, uncanny valley. Everyone thinks it was a glossy helmet he was wearing, but it was really pretty badly beaten in a lot of scenes.
I'm actually a bit curious, like how much screen time Vader had in episodes 4, 5, and 6, as opposed to 3.
Oh, well, in the 3, he was only really there in the very end.
Yeah.
No!
Because I feel like they managed to get some shots in, I think it was in Jedi, that were very expressive of just Vader. Like, he doesn't, like...
It's hard for him to be expressive because he's got a covered face.
Yeah, because his face is covered. And his face literally doesn't move, except I guess he can turn a little bit. But, like, there's a scene where he's interacting with Luke on Endor.
Yes.
And it really feels like you can see conflict, which I think is a amazing achievement of screen
acting
movie
skill. It's to do with like the subtle lowering of his head.
Yeah,
he's not standing so high and mighty. He's lowering his head, partially in contemplation, partially because he's like admitting defeat to himself. He lost it.
Yeah,
the rehumanization of Vader.
But I don't know if that would have worked if you had even more of Vader on screen. I think they have like a good balance. Like he's not on screen all the time. He's not the hero.
What's the thing? As a big bad character, the more he'd be there, the less chances anybody else surviving.
Yeah.
Which is why I was wondering, like, if it's just King Kong, I'm okay with him not being there in every scene. Otherwise, people get flattened pretty darn quickly. If it's Godzilla, people are dying really quickly for every scene he's doing something in, even if it's just little toy tanks getting busted up. Mm-hmm. But when it's King Kong versus Godzilla, they can kind of hold their own against each other, so you can have a scene with the two of them, and you won't have to worry about one of them dying immediately.
Yeah. And I guess
King Kong takes one heck of a beating.
I'd say part of the reason why that film doesn't really work is because the Hollywood formula is you have a bad guy versus a hero. And in King Kong versus Godzilla, I don't know if one of them is a good guy, but... No,
in this part, Godzilla would not have had any of his heroic traits associated with some of the later Toho productions, where he becomes, like an ally of humanity against stuff like aliens. But King Kong is not exactly a good guy, even though he is their only hope for stopping Godzilla.
Yeah.
And they do airlift him over to fight Godzilla, so he is more of a de facto hero type.
Right.
But even then, it's I'll call it anti-hero at best, even though he doesn't have full anti-hero qualities. He's more of just a big ape they can sick on the big lizard.
Yeah. So it does go against the formula of a monster movie in that there's a monster and then some hero has to fight the monster, or the monster kills people and, some variation of that. In this case, there are two monsters who are sort of equal billing of, how we're going to have both of these. Like what? And they put verses in the middle, which is, it's not like, oh, our heroes fight King Kong and Godzilla. It's verses. So our heroes somehow have to...
The Japanese military is pretty much fighting both of them on... That's the thing is, King Kong is coming up effectively from the south and Godzilla's coming down from the north. So it's kind of like them on two fronts. Retreat! Oh no, we can't retreat. There's another giant monster that way.
I don't know. How many other versus movies are there? There was Freddy versus Jason,
Alien versus Predator, and then you've got the whole go along line of Toho animation. You got King Kong, versus Godzilla. You've got Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus every other dang monster.
So they did do that a lot. They did matchups like that.
Oh, they did a lot of matchups like that, where they really had to put in the personality to Godzilla and make him somewhat of a hero character. Let's see. House of Frankenstein, I believe it was, had Frankenstein, Dracula. No, I just had Frankenstein and the Wolfman in that one.
Okay. Because I know it's tempting for
when you're just verses.
When you're writing a screenplay, or if you're a studio or whatever. It's very tempting and very cool idea to say, oh, what if this monster and that monster were both in the same movie? Like,
we own the rights to both of them. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. But
I won't lie, it added a nice extra dimension of personality for the backstory of both the alien and the predator.
Yeah.
Although how the xenomorph alien works into the Prometheans in correlation to the Yautja predators is still yet to be cohesively sewn together.
Yeah, okay. But, I mean, it's a big galaxy, so...
So, hey, these guys look cool to fight. Let's take them. Yeah. Sold.
I mean, that doesn't seem that hard to...
But it'd be nice to see it. Well, there's a second Prometheus movie coming out, so fingers crossed it'll tell the entire story and hook it all up.
Oh, that'd be good.
I don't expect it to actually do so.
It'll add something probably.
But at least to figure out what the heck they were doing to make the xenomorphs to begin with. Was it like, oh, hey, it's time to wipe you out as a species? Or like, we were commissioned to create an ultimate killing machine for these guys who like to hunt. So, welcome to Test Subject Laboratory Earth.
Huh.
Wouldn't that suck? It's like we're only here as part of we are the agar of a petri plate.
Well,
to be consumed by the monster.
I almost find it plausible in a lot of ways. Can I mention our social media?
Oh, yes, go on.
TheSimulationist@gmail.com is our email, folks. If you want to send us email, send it there, TheSimulationist@gmail.com.
If you got something shorter you want to write to us, say, hey, you're talking about a monster perspective, monster movie, you guys should totally see this, and you want other people to see it as well, you can contact us on our Facebook page.
You can write in comments on our Facebook page. You can comment on this episode, or where we put the link, or on the page itself. It'll show up on the left-hand side of the page. And join the conversation, join the community at facebook.com/thesimulationist. You can also comment on these same files come up on YouTube. I don't think everybody likes to watch them that way, and more people like to listen to it in the MP3 format.
It is really convenient to be able to get on any computer that can access the internet.
But that's true, yeah. So I do upload this onto YouTube, and you can comment there also, and we will see it. So if that's how you like to comment on things, you're welcome to it. Comment on the Facebook, on the youtube.com/thesimulationist. Of course, you can always write reviews on iTunes. If you aren't already subscribed on iTunes, subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice.
Guaranteed to get your weekly dose of us.
Indeed. And write us a little review. That would help us out so much. We'd be so grateful. We'd send you all our love and everything.
That's about it. Because really, we don't have much more than love. I mean, I got some muffins that my wife made. But I don't know how good of a review someone would have to be before I'd send them muffins, man. That'd have to be a pretty darn good review.
Good point. But
these are good muffins, so it's like, yeah.
We'll take as many stars as you feel like giving us, although 5-star reviews are always appreciated, and we think we put in a 5-star effort.
I won't lie, I only put in a 4.5-star effort this week.
Well, okay.
I slacked. I thought you'd put in a 5.5-star, and that way we'd balance out.
Yeah, I think I did. What else? I think that's all. Yeah. Oh, and you can find us on Patreon and kick in whatever you want. No obligation, of course, but if you happen to have the extra bucks lying around and feel
pay for the batteries.
Yeah, you can pay for there's not a lot of expenses, but there's a couple little things that would help us out if you wanted to help us support the podcast. That would be fantastic on Patreon. Find us on Patreon, The Simulationist on Patreon.
Someone had to pay for the electricity to warm up the oven to make the muffins that we had just before we started the podcast.
Yep, yes, indeed. Someone did.
I think it was me. Pretty sure I'm not getting free electricity here.
Or if you wanted to earmark it, like buy yourself some coffee or pop or beer or something nice, that's cool too.
But please don't make it disgusting, like those 5-hour energy drinks. Okay,
Ryan. I was just going through my head, okay, Ryan, you're not a big pop drinker. You're not a big beer drinker.
I love pop, but I am trying to watch, those, calories from pop to have.
You're not a giant coffee guy.
I used to be big on coffee until I had to wake up at 4 in the morning every day and get myself to the golf course to help build said golf course. In which case, I did something wrong, and now the coffee just burns a hole like an acid in me.
Well, yeah.
But I love the aroma. To this day, I still love the aroma of a good cup of coffee. I don't smell quite like it on earth.
Okay, so I guess all of these things in moderation once in a while.
If I need caffeine and I don't want to have the calories from the pop, I'm taking my my coffee.
Okay. Me, on the other hand, I will take all of those things all at once, anytime. Just guzzle coffee, beer, pop.
Well, if you were to caffeinate some beer, that'd be a bad idea. Then you'd never get to sleep at the end of the night.
I think,
drunk and awake.
I think it's been done. I mean, that was a Drew Carey plot, but I think it's been done in real life too.
Yeah.
Caffeinated beer.
I don't know. You'd have to get Josh to try that one, not me.
I haven't tried it myself, but I hear it's a thing. I don't even know if it would be any good, but yeah.
It's not like that stopped people before. I mean, I've tasted some pretty skunky beers in my day.
Yeah, that's true. Find us on the social media. Oh, and I'm on Twitter at Josh_Trelaffin, TRESLAFFIN.
So if you got just a quick little thing to send them, that's the way to go about it.
Yeah, just want to. You can follow me, and I post all of these podcasts every week. Just a little notification in case you're not otherwise subscribed. That's another way to get a reminder on Twitter.
Stay on the pulse of the nation. Simulationist nation.
It's a good way to get in contact with me. So I think that's all the social media. Final thoughts on the.
I think you've helped enlighten me and make me a little bit more okay with the lack of King Kong and Godzilla in King Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay.
And you've made me a little bit more aware of what I do like and what I'm acceptable for tolerating in a monster movie and how frequently the monster appears. I am willing to support an increasing frequency as the movie goes on until you get a very heavy, if not monster, completely dominant third act.
Yeah. But I think if you hadn't brought up this topic, I don't know if I would have, if we would have gone in the direction of imagining a movie that was so much from the monsters.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to look that one up now. That seems like a boss idea for just an absolute monster movie.
Yeah. So we got some cool stuff out of this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I don't know if it would work well for like a Jason Voorhees or even like a Friday the 13th sort of a motif.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you get vignettes of, in later of those series. You get little bits of their backstory, from their perspective. But it's not like the whole movie's from theirs.
Jason, his popping up is kind of his thing, where it's okay, I'm finally safe, and then him coming out and stabbing you so hard you're impaled against a tree. That's something that needs him to come on out, which means you can't have it just from Jason's perspective in that case.
Yeah, although I like the idea of a scene that's pretty long that you see him in the background sort of the whole time, he's or in the foreground even, and the people he's going to kill are in the background. And
okay, I'll buy that as a scene if you want to go with a bit more plot heaviness. You can have it where the teens are talking about whatever plot relevant thing they are, and there is the monster in the background. They're going around, and there's the monster is slowly stalking them, in the trees, and you got the angle so that you can see it as the audience, but the teens are completely unaware.
Yeah. So we've seen scenes like this occasionally.
And don't get me wrong, I always dig a scene where the monster seems to be just standing in the background where you can miss it.
Yeah,
so I think if you're not
and then
paying
you
the right
watch it
attention,
again, and
say, it was there the entire time. Oh my God! So you could film the whole thing set up right for plot, and where the monster's there, and if you're paying attention, but the teens aren't. Mm-hmm. So you could still work it out correctly and keep it monster focused in that case, while highlighting the monster's crazy, scary abilities.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm a little wiser now, and I'm a little bit more tolerant, I think. I think this has been a very progressive week for me now.
Or like there could be a scene where, you know, our monster is like, he's trying to put a boot on or something, or he's got a rock in his shoe, he's like really focused or something, or tying his shoelaces or something, and you hear the teens like talking in the background, doing whatever they're doing, and he just doesn't even like, he's not even registering, and it's like, finally I got my boot on, okay, who can I kill? And like they're over there, oh, stab.
Or, you know, he's tying up the boots, he's making sure everything's up. Or he's got to tie a knot in the lace because he broke the lace sort of thing, chasing after it. And the teens are talking in the background, and he's just like, roll his eyes, blah, 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 do that hand motion, blah, blah, blah. As they're talking, he's just trying to fix things up before he can go. Because you don't want to be chasing somebody without your boots set up properly.
Exactly.
You don't get the speed, and it never feels right.
Yeah.
Speaking as an older brother, I've chased a few guys around before. They happen to be
boots.
related to me, you know. And you know, with loose boots, it never feels right. You're just doing some sort of weird, crazy duck hop after it. You can't get up good speed. And yet there are times you just can't run around in bare feet. Tough rocks, asphalt, you know, all sorts of, you know, like rusty nails and stuff. So yeah, you want your boots.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well,
dig it.
Yeah, we done. Okay, I've been Josh 11.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Zen Money.